कभी करती हैं मुलाकातें, कभी करती हैं मुलाकातें, कभी यादों में बरसातें, किताबें करती हैं बातें, किताबें करती हैं बातें। मन की गहरी झील में कूद जाती हैं कभी, सोच के दरिया के संग संग बहती जाती हैं कभी। चाहे शाम हो या हो रातें, किताबें करती हैं बातें।
Namaskar and welcome to Kitaabnama Books and Beyond. I am Jayashree Sethi. Today we are going to talk about a cult, a sport that unites our nation. Cricket that prides itself on the amount of literature that it generates, that it inspires. Today, the book that is in focus is Cricket World Cup, The Indian Challenge. Author of this book is a seasoned Indian broadcaster, right from BBC to CNN to ABC of Australia to Doordarshan. He has seen all and commentated on all the landmark cricket matches. Today, he's with us in the studio. He's Ashish Rai. Ashish, a very warm welcome.
Thank you.
Ashish, your book, Cricket World Cup, The Indian Challenge. Is it a chronicle of World Cups?
It is a history of the World Cup. It's an eyewitness history because I'm old enough to have seen all the World Cups.
Yes.
And it takes into account all 10 tournaments that have taken place, starting in 1975. And it also previews the upcoming World Cup.
When we say Cricket World Cup, every Indian immediately remembers the victory that we had in 1983. And before that, India had played at 1975 World Cup, at 1979 World Cup, and they saw a great debacle there. So what transformed? What actually happened in 1983 that we won the World Cup?
Well, I think the first signal came a little before the World Cup. India were touring the West Indies, and about 3 months before the World Cup, there was a match in Guyana, West Indies versus India. At that point of time, the West Indians were all conquering. They were absolutely unbeatable.
Right.
And in that frame, India defeated the West Indies in that match at Berbice in the interior of Guyana. And I was there, and I thought that that could be a transforming moment, a turning point for India, because prior to that, the Indians hadn't quite taken enthusiastically enough to one-day cricket. They were essentially test players. The great man Sunil Gavaskar was leading the charge as far as Indian batting was concerned, and there were others, of course, like his brother-in-law Gundappa, Vishwanath. We had seen Vishwanath in the 70s as well. But we were not very good as a one-day side. So that day, I think, made a difference, and Gavaskar himself got 90 odd runs. Kapil Dev, who had become captain of India by that stage, was the man of the match. And this really permeated into India's performance in the World Cup in England, where we won.
Yeah, and you are the only Asian broadcaster who commentated ball by ball on BBC's coverage of epic 1983. So how was the experience?
Well, you know, in those days, the commentary box was a bit of a closed shop. It was dominated by Englishmen and Australians. And in that World Cup, of course, there were a couple of us who were not from either England or Australia.
Right.
One of them was Tony Cozier of the West Indies, and the other was I. And the two of us, as a matter of fact, commentated throughout the tournament, right up to the final, because the final was between India and the West Indies. Looking back, it seems so strange because these days there are so many Indians doing commentary, and they are good commentators. You find a lot of former players now in the commentary scene, particularly on television.
Right.
But yes, it was a lonely experience, but a memorable one.
And coming to your book, Cricket World Cup, it also illustrates the dip that Indian cricket team saw in 1983, after 1989, and then there was a revival in 2003. From 1982 to 89, there was a dip, and then there was a revival in 2003 when Indian cricket team reached the finals and somehow buri tarah se haare the Australia se. So what made that revival happen?
Well, first of all, the victory in 1983, although there was that indication, as I said, at Berbice, was still an upset because it was a shock win, because the West Indians were not really expected to lose. And India, in fact, scored only 183 in the final, and yet the West Indians couldn't get those runs. So it was a moment that transformed Indian cricket, it transformed world cricket. But then what happened was the expectations were so high, and Indian fans in particular felt that India could go on and then win every other World Cup. It didn't happen. And so you're absolutely right that there was this lull in India's performance between 1983 and 2003.
Right.
And during that period, India time and time again failed. They did reach the semi-finals in 87 and 96, but it was otherwise a lackluster performance. So 2003, I think, once again, there was a sign of a revival. And India were more of a fighting unit under Saurav Ganguly. And of course, you had outstanding players like Sachin Tendulkar in the side. So yes, that was the first time that I think India came back on the scene. Although I must hasten to add that after 2003, when India were runners-up to Australia, India played abysmally in the following World Cup in 2007,
Yes.
When they were eliminated in the preliminary stage.
Yeah. And then in 2011, Indian cricket team under the captaincy of Mahendra Singh Dhoni came back in league. So what happened between those years?
Well, first of all, it was a home World Cup.
Yeah.
And if you're playing at home, you're playing in familiar conditions, and you are more in control, as it were. And in 1987 and 1996, when the World Cup was played in the Indian subcontinent, India did reach the semi-finals both times, but lost first to England in 87 and to Sri Lanka in 1996. But this time, I think the planning and the strategy of the Indian team was better. And the other factor was that India's big match, really, I felt during that tournament, was against Australia in the quarterfinal. And mentally, the Australians are the strongest side. They weren't at their best. They weren't as good as they were in 2007 or 2003. But they were still a good enough side, and to beat Australia is never easy.
Yes.
And so once India won that quarterfinal, I was fairly convinced that India would win the tournament, and it so happened. I did not think, including in the final when Sri Lanka played quite well, batted quite well, I didn't think Sri Lanka were good enough to contain the Indian batting, and it was essentially the Indian batting might that took them through. That said, I think it should be added that the all-round performance of Yuvraj Singh was quite remarkable. He actually came in as an underestimated left-arm spin bowler, but he got breakthroughs for India where the more established bowlers were failing to get through. So that certainly made a difference, but essentially it was the Indian batting which was their backbone.
Coming back to your book, Cricket World Cup, The Indian Challenge, does it touch upon Greg Chappell's controversy too?
It does indeed, because that was the 2007
Yeah.
World Cup, and it actually started in a controversial manner prior to the World Cup with this face-off between Chappell and Saurav Ganguly. Saurav, of course, was removed as captain, and then he was also dropped from the side. Chappell had a plan to build a new young Indian team, but clearly there was resistance and there was tension within the side. And I do touch on the controversy, giving the facts and figures, but also I quote Tendulkar on what he has to say, and Tendulkar has come down quite heavily on Chappell on the matter. So Tendulkar clearly takes Ganguly's side on this, and it wasn't a very happy period for Indian cricket. Chappell, though, was a brilliant cricketing mind, but in the Indian scenario and in the Indian psyche, I think a coach cannot really trample over the big stars.
True.
And that's what he tried to do, and he failed.
And when you talk about Indian cricket, it has been in news for some wrong reasons too. So do you also talk about controversial selections, role of BCCI in this book?
I do. In fact, I have taken the BCCI to task, which I've been doing for over 30 years now, because I feel that the incompetence of the BCCI has contributed to Indian failures. And if Indian cricketers have done well from time to time, it has been because of their brilliance rather than anything special done on their behalf by BCCI. So that is certainly something I've touched upon, but I've also commented now and then, but not that critically about selection, because I believe that generally, by and large, team selection in India has stabilized.
Yeah.
There's no partiality, there's no politics in team selection. You cannot agree with everything that a selector does, and nobody ever will. This time, though, I would have hoped that Murali Vijay would have been in the side, because he's played extraordinarily well in England and Australia recently, and had he been retained, I think the Indian batting would have felt more confident at this point of time, but he hasn't been picked, and so that's one little criticism I'd like to make, but otherwise I think it's a squad which is as good as it could have been.
Your first book, One Day Cricket, The Indian Challenge, shall we call this book a sequel to that?
I wouldn't entirely call it a sequel, but there is something in common. And it needs to be stressed that the title itself of the first book suggests that it was more a history of one-day cricket with World Cup included in it. I spoke in that book about the genesis of one-day cricket, how it started, the Gillette Cup being the first tournament that was ever played in England, and so on. But here in this book, it's totally on the World Cup. The focus is entirely on the World Cup, and it's a book from an Indian perspective. I look at the 10 World Cups and the forthcoming World Cup from Indian eyes, and it's a book that I would hope that people will find readable in terms of pleasure, but also a useful volume for reference, because you've got scores there, and if you want to find out what exactly happened in a particular match in any of the World Cups that India played in, it's there.
Cricket has inspired many authors, maybe because it is loved by all and people associate themselves with cricket. A sense of nationality, patriotism arises all of a sudden when you see a cricket match, especially when it is played between India and Pakistan. Your book is not a fiction book. So who might pick this book up? So cricket enthusiasts, as you said, people might take it for reference too, but who are you mostly targeting at?
Well, there are two kinds of people. One is obviously the cricket lover.
Yeah.
Anybody who loves cricket would find this book hopefully useful, and for two reasons. One is, of course, to check what happened, because this is a catalogue of the World Cup, and you can simply use it as a reference book. If you're a journalist, you can use it as a reference book. And if you're somebody simply interested in the game and want to keep up with what is happening or what happened in the past, then again it could be something that would be of utility. That said, I think I would hope that I've given some reading pleasure to a person who may be even a casual
Right.
person as far as cricket interest is concerned. And there I think it goes wider. I think anybody who is even remotely interested should be interested. But there's another factor. There could be a foreigner who may be interested in India. And I would hope that as a part of a person's interest in India, one can read a book on Indian cricket and thereby try and find out a little bit more about the country.
Sachin Tendulkar's book, Playing It My Way, has been a hit because it had some personal stories and experiences. Did you also mention some of your personal experiences? So, is there any such story which might interest readers?
As a matter of fact, I've been involved for more than 4 decades.
Yeah.
And yes, my style is anecdotal.
Okay.
So I have a lot of stories being told as I write on various matches or pre-match or post-match situations. And I have tried to use and to insert as many quotes as possible from cricketers. Not necessarily about myself, but it's me as an observer, not really telling stories about myself, because I don't think I'm important enough. I'd rather be a fly on the wall and listen and observe.
The last chapter of this book, 2015 Expectations, the World Cup is about to kickstart, and India is eagerly looking towards the match between India and Pakistan on Sunday. What to expect?
Well, I think first of all, one shouldn't attach too much importance to a Pakistan match.
Okay.
It's a cricket match and it should be treated as such, and the politics and the diplomatic relations or otherwise should never be taken into account. Feelings which are not really connected with cricket should not come in. That said, I think Pakistan have never beaten India in a World Cup match.
Yes.
And so India start off with, I think, a bit of happy history behind them. And it's also true that Pakistan on paper are not at their best. Their best bowler, for instance, Saeed Ajmal, is not in the squad, and so they'll be missing him. There's another bowler, Hafiz, who's also not in the side. That too is a blow for Pakistan. They're a young side, they're a promising side, but they don't have the experience of the Indians.
Yeah.
And so certainly India would start the match as favorites.
You know what worked in 1983 and what worked in 2011. So what's going to be your prediction?
One of the factors that served India well in 1983 was the fact that India had a lot of all-rounders. So there were plenty of players who could bat and bowl, and they batted right down the order. And they also had, the Indians, medium pace bowlers who were perfect for English conditions. Last time, 2011, India won primarily because of their batting strength and because of the ability of Yuvraj Singh to chip in and get wickets when nobody else was doing so. Zahir Khan also bowled well. That needs to be mentioned. This time, I will say this much, that I'll be very surprised if India don't make it to the quarterfinals. And that's where the tournament begins. So you have 3 high-pressure situations to cope with. The quarterfinals, the semifinals, and the final.
Yeah.
And in these 3 situations, it's a must-win. It's a knockout. And therefore, I think it is to be borne in mind that it is not going to be merely cricketing ability, but also your mental strength which will come into play. And if India reach a certain momentum during the league stage, at the quarterfinal stage, India could go further. But I have to say, much to the disappointment of Indian fans that Australia will start the tournament as favourites.
Ashish, fingers crossed. We wish our country the best, and we also wish you for the good promotion of this book. You have been traveling for the promotion, and thank you so much for gracing our show today. Wonderful talking to you. Had a great insight into the field of cricket.
Thank you for having me.
इस समय मेरे साथ हैं काजल ओझा वैद्य। इनकी खासियत ये है कि बरसों से इन्होंने लगातार स्क्रिप्ट राइटिंग पर काम किया है। इनकी महारत टेलीविज़न, सिनेमा, फिल्म और उसके साथ साथ प्रिंट मीडिया में भी है। अब तक 56 से ज़्यादा किताबें लिख चुकी हैं और साहित्य और लेखन से गहरा नाता हमेशा से रहा है। काजल, आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत किताबनामा में। आपका जो केंद्र रहा है वो रिश्ते रहा है, और दूसरी तरफ आपने काम किया है स्क्रिप्ट राइटिंग पर। इन दोनों का तालमेल क्या है?
सिनेमा में बहुत ज़्यादा बात जब हम करते हैं तो हम रिश्तों के इर्द गिर्द ही करते हैं। हमारी सारी कहानियाँ अल्टीमेटली रिश्तों के आसपास घूमती हैं। माँ बेटा हो, बाप बेटी हो, हम वहीं घूम फिर कर आकर रुक जाते हैं। तो मुझे हमेशा से लगा है कि कहानियों का केंद्र ये होना चाहिए कि हम इंसान हैं। हमारा इंसान होना बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट है, और अगर हम इंसान हैं तो हमारे आसपास वो रिश्ते हैं जिनसे हम वो हैं जो हम हैं। तो यही कारण रहा है शायद मेरा कि मैं रिश्तों से जुड़कर लिखती हूँ, और सिनेमा की मेरी सारी स्क्रिप्ट्स या टेलीविज़न का भी जो काम करती हूँ वो इसी के आसपास रहा है।
आप गुजरात यूनिवर्सिटी में पढ़ाती भी हैं। आप जब इन नए बच्चों से इंटरेक्ट करती होंगी, आप ये महसूस करती होंगी कि एक तरफ ग्लैमर की दुनिया है और दूसरी तरफ एक ऐसी दुनिया है जो बहुत मेहनत की बात करती है, उसकी डिमांड करती है। और जब हम बाहर की तरफ निकलते हैं तो हम देखते हैं कि एक बहुत बड़ा गैप है प्रैक्टिशनर्स के बीच में और उनमें जो कि मीडिया का अध्यापन कर रहे हैं। तो इस पूरी किताबी दुनिया में आप क्या महसूस करती हैं कि क्या मीडिया से जुड़ा हुआ लेखन, आज हम किस स्थिति में हैं? विदेशों में हम जाते हैं तो जो लोग मीडिया में काम करें वो लिखते भी हैं, हमारे यहाँ थोड़ा सा प्रचलन कम है। तो आप जब छात्रों से डील करती हैं तो किताबों को लेकर आपकी प्रतिक्रिया क्या रहती है?
देखिए, बच्चे कम पढ़ते हैं किताबें। इसका शायद कारण ये है कि उनके पास बहुत बड़ा एक्सपोजर है विजुअल का। अब गूगल के एक टिप पे आपको वो बहुत कुछ मिल जाता है जो हम लोगों ने कभी नहीं पाया, स्पेशली मेरी जनरेशन ने तो नहीं पाया। तो वो इन्फॉर्मेशन जो हम किताबों से पाते थे प्रॉबेबली वो अपनी इंटरनेट से या इससे उससे पा लेते हैं। लेकिन अगर आप, जैसे कि मैं अपनी भाषा से बात करूं तो गुजराती में हम लोगों ने अभी इस बार गुजराती लिटरेचर फेस्टिवल किया और हमने देखा कि 60% से ऊपर ऐसे बच्चे जिनको हमने कभी एक्सपेक्ट नहीं किया था लिटरेचर फेस्टिवल में वो आए। यहाँ भी आप देखिए जयपुर में इतनी यंगस्टर्स आते हैं, अटेंड करते हैं। तो मुझे जहाँ तक लगता है हम उनको कैटर नहीं कर पा रहे, हम उनको वो दे नहीं पा रहे जो वो उनको चाहिए। तो हो सकता है कि हम और दूसरा ये जो आप कह रहे हैं कि एथिक्स अलग है और बाज़ार, लेट अस पुट इट वेरी स्ट्रेट, कि बाज़ार अलग है। तो जब वो पढ़ के निकलते हैं मीडिया एथिक्स या मीडिया के साथ जुड़ी हुई बातें, फिर बाहर निकलते हैं तो गला काटने वाली बातें हैं, तो उनको भी समझ में आ जाता है कि ये रैट रेस है। आप शेर हैं तो भी दौड़िए, आप हिरन है तो भी दौड़िए, एक जान बचाने के लिए, एक पेट भरने के लिए। बट अल्टीमेटली जहाँ तक मेरी समझ में आया है, ये जनरेशन बहुत प्रामाणिक है, वेरी ऑनेस्ट।
इस ऑनेस्टी को मैं सिनेमा के साथ अब जोड़ना चाहूँगी। सिनेमा के बारे में भी ये कहा जाता है कि सिनेमा वो दिखाता है जो समाज का हिस्सा है, तो समाज का दर्पण है वो। अभी आपकी एक फिल्म भी रिलीज़ हुई है मराठी में, उस फिल्म की गुजराती में, उस फिल्म के बारे में हमें कुछ बताइए, और वो आपकी रचना प्रक्रिया किस तरह की रही?
मैंने ये चौथी फिल्म लिखी जिसमें स्वरूप संपट है, मानव गोहेल है। विदेशों में भी बहुत सराहना हुई इस फिल्म की। इट्स अबाउट थोड़ी सी बड़ी उम्र में है, उनसे एक यंग लड़के की शादी होती है और उसकी ज़िंदगी का देखने का नज़रिया और मर्द के देखने का नज़रिया अलग है, और उसको लगता है कि सोशल कॉज बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट है ज़िंदगी के लिए। जो सोशल, मुझे सामाजिक निस्बत जो मेरी होनी चाहिए वो उसके पति को नहीं लगता कि होनी चाहिए, और एक अनाथ बच्चा है जिसको वो गोद लेती है और उससे पूरी कहानी बनती है। पर अल्टीमेटली सप्तपदी वो 7 मंत्र हैं जो हम शादी के वक्त कहते हैं। एक वचन है जो हम एक दूसरे को 7 वचन देते हैं। तो वो सारे वचन के बाद 7वां वचन है कि 7वें फेरे में 7 वचन के बाद हम दोस्त बन जाएं, सप्तमे सखा भव। तो वो दोस्ती की बात जब आती है वो सप्तपदी की बात है।
तो आपकी जो रचना प्रक्रिया है जिसमें आप रिश्तों की बात करती हैं, आप कविताएं भी लिखती हैं।
जी।
कविताओं की दुनिया अलग दुनिया है सिनेमा से, और वो ज़्यादा संवेदनशील भी है बहुत सारे लिहाज से, क्योंकि वो शब्दों से
सिनेमा
और
भी
दिल से।
पोएट्री है, वो सेल्यूलॉइड पे लिखी जाती
अलग तरह की वो पोइट्री है और ये एक अलग तरह की पोइट्री है, और इसका पाठक वर्ग और दर्शक वर्ग दोनों में भी कई बार एक
बहुत
अंतर हम
फर्क है,
महसूस
बहुत
करते हैं। तो आपकी जो लेखन प्रक्रिया है कविता की खास तौर पर, उसमें पिछले कई सालों में किस तरह के बदलावों को आपने खुद अपने अंदर महसूस किया है? क्योंकि 56 किताबें लिखने का मतलब ही है कि एक व्यापक दायरा आपका है।
56 में एक ही किताब कविता की है, बाकी मैंने पब्लिश नहीं की है, प्रकाशित नहीं की है। इसका कारण शायद ये है कि मुझे लगता है कि कविता बहुत निजी एक्सप्रेशन है, मेरा अपना एक्सप्रेशन है, जिसको जल्दी से मैं प्रकाशित करना नहीं चाहूँगी। बहुत चयन करके अच्छी कविताएं जो मुझे लगे कि इसको दे सकती हूँ दूसरों को, वही शायद मैं पहुँचाऊँगी। प्रोज शब्द के साथ जब आप काम करते हैं तो मुझे लगता है कि बहुत महीन होना चाहिए काम, और बहुत प्रामाणिक होना चाहिए। लिखने के खातिर नहीं लिखा जाए, छपवाने के खातिर नहीं लिखा जाए। तो मैं ये अपने आप में भी देख रही हूँ पिछले सालों में कि मैं भी बहुत सिलेक्टिव हो गई हूँ, बहुत जल्दी नहीं दे देती हूँ किसी को, या नहीं तैयार हो जाती हूँ, और कविता की किताबें अभी नहीं हुई हैं। क्यों? इसका कारण भी यही है, शायद मैं भी मैच्योर हो रही हूँ वाइल राइटिंग अबाउट रिलेशनशिप।
काजल जी, आपके लिए हमारी बहुत सी शुभकामनाएं।
Thank you so much.
और आपका लेखन इसी तरह सक्रियता से भरपूर, ऊर्जा से भरपूर हमेशा रहे, और कई और किताबें आप आने वाले समय में लिखें। इन तमाम शुभकामनाओं के साथ किताबनामा की तरफ से आपका आभार।
थैंक यू।